Something big is happening on Comex. I've been screaming that forever, right? And in the December contract, which went on when it went off the board, I 29th, a couple days after maybe the day after Thanksgiving. So far, over 10,000 Comex silver futures contracts have stood for delivery. 10,000 at 5,000 ounces each. That's more than 50 million ounces of silver that have been taken off the exchange, including 565 contracts or 2.8 million ounces in a single day. Over 60% of the Comex registered silver was claimed in just the first 4 days of trading in the 2025 December contract. The demand for physical metal is massively accelerating. This is not normal flow. This is institutional accumulation.
Something just happened in the gold and silver markets that most investors haven't noticed. But every expert quietly watching Comex knows exactly what it means. Silver breaking above $60 an ounce wasn't the real story. The real story is why it happened. Comex just saw more physical silver leave its vaults in days than it normally loses in months, and London is reporting inventory tightness that insiders say is the worst in over a decade. Reuters reports that silver hit a record high, even as gold stayed above $4,200, signaling that investors are no longer waiting for confirmation. They're moving first. Meanwhile, Kitco revealed a 150 million ounce shortfall in London's silver system, the kind of liquidity gap that only happens when deep-pocketed buyers are draining supply quietly in the background. This isn't chart reading. This is structural stress, and Andy Schectman has been warning about exactly this moment, a surge in physical demand so large that it exposes how thin the paper markets actually are. And today we're going to break down exactly what he sees and why he believes the price action we're seeing now is only the beginning of a much bigger shift.
You know, the gold market globally operates on a fractional levered system, and we're seeing some of that start to crack right now with the amount of deliveries. And that system basically operates where a small amount of physical metal backs large volume in paper claims. That's the rehypothecation that you speak about. In other words, each ounce is sold over and over and over and over again because no one ever stood for delivery. And that's why it's worked for decades, because few ever did. In fact, when you and I start talking about the others in 2020, the group on the Comex said was standing for delivery, that was the central thesis of everything I was saying. You're like, this is so weird, Dunnigan, because all of a sudden it went from 0 to 100 where no one was standing for delivery. Now you got this big group standing for delivery. But now you have central banks repatriating gold. Remember all the banks that we talked about, the German Bundesbank, the Dutch National Bank, the Bank of Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Poland, the Czech National Bank, they all repatriated their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. It's about trust. And investors now are shifting, as you mentioned, to this tokenized gold. And the more I dig into the offers or to the possible opportunities that have been presented to me, the more I begin to think, yeah, this may actually have a profound effect because it gives fully allocated and instantly transferable and fungible ownership of the real metal. Not only does this undermine demand for paper gold, which is, I think, been exposed by much of the world. They see the rehypothecation. They see the Achilles heel of the system is standing for delivery. It also gives very intriguing options for collateralization of your metal that many of us who have, a large portion of your assets in gold and silver come to a point where you want to buy a home or you want to do something, you need collateral. And the banks, well, how do I know you got metal in your closet and blah, blah, blah. It's not, you can't use it. This does. But what I could see happening actually because of this transparency and because of this instant validation and transferability and collateralization, I think you could see a lot of investors exit the paper system for allocated tokenized gold, at which point the system could face that sudden collapse triggered by unorderly unraveling of unhedged rehypothecated exposure. And I think the bottom line is that tokenized gold is not just a new form of gold or better gold, whatever people want to call it. It's a potential catalyst, to this gentleman's point, for the collapse of the entire paper gold system. I agree with him, because paper promises that have been exposed for being BS I think this is the antidote for it, and if done properly, could rewrite the entire ecosystem. They've been pretty successful at hoodwinking us all. But that's why I said if done right. To me, when speaking to the folks about this that I'm in discussions with, I said to them, there are just a very few things that need to make this work. Number one, it has to be transparent. Obviously, that's the whole premise of blockchain. So that's nothing profound. But it has to be transparent in the respect of who's holding the gold. Is it an institution like Brinks or the Royal Canadian Mint or some major mint, the Perth Mint, the US? Who's holding it? In what form is it held? Who's auditing it? And the key to it all, in what form and how easy is it for me to take delivery? And that's the most important part. In other words, any exchange that doesn't allow delivery or any platform that doesn't allow delivery, it's fugazi. You can throw it right out the window right now because it ain't going to work. The whole premise of the whole reason the LBMA and the Comex have worked, even though they've rigged the system, is that they allow delivery. Even though no one ever stood for delivery way back when, they do allow it. That is the key. And if you want to really come out the gate screaming, who owns it, who audits it, what form, and how easy and what form can it be delivered? Those are the things that could very quickly tip the scales. And I think when a system loses trust, and I think this has been an overreaching theme that you and I have talked about for a while, this whole country, this whole thing, it's not just the country, it's everything about it: judicial system, electoral system, immigration system, wokeness instead of meritocracy, all the stuff we talked about ad nauseum for years, especially during the previous administration. And then on top of it, sanctions, well, you call them tariffs, but they're actually sanctions masquerading as tariffs. The way that this administration, and granted, I'm glad he won and I would vote for him again, but there are some things he is doing that is eroding trust, even with our allies, by placing tariffs on Mexico and Canada and the EU. And, there are things, this whole system is about, I think, a fraying of trust. And so if you want to make this work, it has to be completely and totally trustworthy. And that would be being very open and transparent about all of those things, including who's auditing it, how easy it is to see the audits, and if I want to stand for delivery, in what form and how easy is it for me to do that. If those things all became relevant, then yeah, because I think we're reaching a point in time where the Comex and the LBMA are losing trust globally. And that's why you see everyone standing for delivery the way that they are, because these countries don't want paper promises anymore. I think they want the real thing in their possession, and that's more important than anything else to these players. So yeah, if done the right way, to your point, which is a valid one, then I think it has legs. It really does. I think this would be an antidote for the Comex and the LBMA, in the respect that the Comex and the LBMA are the ones that are losing credibility. The only reason to have it on a blockchain as an investor, I guess, would be for ease and collateralization. If you don't need collateral and you don't care about, the benefits of having that type of platform, I think you're better off holding it at home, myself, or burying in a hole in your backyard or whatnot. But, part of running a business, done again, and I think this has maybe been one of my strong points for a long time, or maybe not. I mean, I kind of feel like it has been in my own mind, but that's not even up for debate. All I'm just simply saying is that running a business means if you don't learn to roll with the changes, you get rolled by them. And I think it's pretty well determined now that things are moving to tokenization. I mean, you look at the chairman of the SEC just came out and said all markets will be tokenized very soon. And I think that we are moving in that direction. You can see the stablecoin Act, the Genius Act. Things are moving to that platform where it's a system that will be about transparency and about the ability to collateralize and to use things that are tokenized. Do I like it? No. I would rather be back even before cell phones, and we had to go to a payphone to call your girlfriend or whatever. It's like, I would just say to you, that doesn't matter. The toothpaste is out of the tube, and either you roll with the changes or you get rolled over by them and you become an afterthought. So I think it is happening. To me, the best place for it, if the world wanted to challenge the West, the way to do it is to develop a system like this where there is transparency, deliverability, and low friction. these things are happening. And whether the West does it first or not, I just think it doesn't matter. It's moving in that direction. Now, as far as the average person, yeah, I guess there are benefits to having it tokenized as well, if you can stand for delivery. Otherwise, everything is just, again, up in the cloud. So there is the middle ground there. The middle ground is you have your physical position at home or wherever you store it, and then you have something tokenized to give you collateralization potential or the ability to access it much more easily. So that to me is about as middle ground as you get.
Andy Schectman explains that what's happening on Comex right now is not a typical delivery spike. It is a systemic stress event. During the December 2025 contract, more than 10,000 silver futures contracts representing over 50 million ounces stood for delivery. That's a staggering amount of physical metal leaving the exchange, and in a single day alone, 565 contracts demanded nearly 3 million ounces. This isn't retail buying. This is coordinated institutional accumulation. When 60% of Comex's registered silver is claimed in the first few days of a new delivery month, we're not talking about volatility. We are talking about a vote of no confidence in the Western paper system. And it's not happening in isolation. Central banks across Europe, Germany, Austria, Poland, Hungary, the Netherlands, have repatriated their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. Nations like China, India, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are locking up silver at the source, buying Doré concentrate directly from miners before it ever touches global markets. Adding pressure to the system, Reuters reports that silver demand from solar, electronics, and AI infrastructure continues to rise sharply. A single 500-megawatt solar facility can require 300 metric tons of silver, nearly 10 million ounces, and AI data centers consume thousands of ounces of silver across their servers and power units. Industrial demand is exploding at the same time above-ground inventories are collapsing. Even UBS, a bank that rarely comments on silver, has turned bullish, citing a 300 million-ounce global deficit now entering its sixth consecutive year. Comex alone has lost 75 million ounces since October, while 583 million paper ounces traded in a single day, 3/4 of annual mine supply. For Schectman, the message is simple. The fractional paper metal system only works if no one asks for the metal. But now they are asking, and the system is straining under the pressure. That is why he believes fully allocated, auditable, tokenized gold and silver are the future. They represent the transparency and deliverability that Comex and LBMA cannot offer forever.
Look, the trend is here. And the thing is, mainstream doesn't notice the trend. And I think maybe even the people who watch this show don't really realize how big the trend is. Over the last 10 years, price of gold has gone from 1,100 to 4,200. That's a 256% increase. And price of silver has moved from 13 to 57. That's a 315% increase. But I think the real trend right now is in deliveries, like we were talking about. Something big is happening on Comex. I've been screaming that forever, right? And in the December contract, which went off the board 29th, a couple days after maybe the day after Thanksgiving. So far, over 10,000 Comex silver futures contracts have stood for delivery. 10,000 at 5,000 ounces each. That's more than 50 million ounces of silver that have been taken off the exchange, including 565 contracts or 2.8 million ounces in a single day. So over 60% of the Comex registered silver was claimed in just the first 4 days of trading in the 2025 December contract. The demand for physical metal is massively accelerating. This is not normal flow. This is institutional accumulation. And I think that this is something that cannot be overlooked. It really can't be. At the same time, you even have Reuters coming out and saying that the London silver tightness or the liquidity crisis is real and it's happening. And so you're finding cracks within the system as you see massive shortness and demand for delivery. At the same time, you have countries like China and India and Saudi Arabia and Russia that have been accumulating silver, taking possession of silver and gold, reintegrating it into their system. We're seeing China, the second largest producer in the world, as I've said on your show a million times, they're going to Mexico and Peru and buying doré and concentrate before it even hits the market by buying this stuff in a pre-refined stage. So they're locking up supply at the source long before it has any chance of reaching the global exchanges. And so I think that this is putting huge stress on the market. Ultimately, will put massive stress on the market. And then you have the U.S. Department of Interior, who adds silver to the 2025 critical minerals list, as we've talked about. And in order to get on that list, by the way, the metal has to be essential to the economy or to national security. Should have a vulnerable supply chain and no easy substitute. So this creates strategic stockpiling demand, and again, and a structural tailwind for demand that's supported by national security and policy. And they should be worried about the supply chain and the geopolitical risk. Because the United States imports 2/3 of its silver. And, I was reading something the other day that blew my mind. It says AI data centers especially burn through silver. It says every server and power unit uses a little, but tens of thousands of machines lock up thousands of ounces permanently. And powering these centers is even more silver intensive. A 500 megawatt solar farm, enough for one major AI campus, can require up to 300 metric tons of silver, or 9 to 10 million ounces. So all of this is happening while the U.S. relies heavily on foreign silver, and physical metal is leaving the transparent markets. 75 million ounces have been pulled from Comex since October. 583 million paper ounces traded on Friday. That's 75% of annual global mine supply in one day. And the Comex had 103 deliveries and the LBMA 553. So, it's getting crazy. In China on Friday, silver closed above $60 an ounce. And so, we keep seeing the price higher in China, which is kind of pulling the price along with it. I just think that things are beginning to really, really, really change. And now you got banks like UBS who are vocal saying that the 300 million ounce physical deficit, and we've been seeing that every year between 1 and 300 million ounces going on the 6th year in a row, is turning them bullish. And they recommend long positions in silver they've never have before. So yeah, I think when you talk about central banks repatriating gold and all of the stuff we've been talking about, standing for delivery, sovereign wealth funds, commercial banks, huge deliveries, to me, what this boils down to is that it will ultimately trickle down into the retail market. And it hasn't yet, but it will. And when it does, it will happen very quickly. Things will just become very difficult to obtain. It doesn't happen at the highest levels and then just stop. I think you'll see it move down into the retail market. It's interesting because on just about everything but American products, premiums are as low as I've ever seen them. The American products, they seem to be going higher and higher. But you will find, I think, that what is a easy to get, flush, supplied, laden market in retail very quickly will change. Not there yet, but I think it will, based upon what we're seeing around the globe. The retail public is just more or less asleep.
Before we wrap up, take a moment and really think about what these numbers mean. Comex just traded hundreds of millions of paper ounces in a single day while sitting on only a fraction of that in real metal. London is reporting one of the tightest silver markets in over a decade, and central banks continue pulling their gold back home. These aren't random events. They're signals. Signals that the system is shifting, silently but rapidly. So let me turn the question to you, the viewer. If everything Andy Schectman warned about is now unfolding in real time, rising physical demand, shrinking inventories, supply chain stress, what do you think happens next? Do you believe the Western paper system can hold together under increasing physical pressure? Do you think Comex and LBMA can keep setting the global price if more countries and institutions demand real metal instead of promises? Or are we already watching the beginning of a major reset in real time? Your perspective matters, and I want to know. If you were holding gold or silver today, would you trust the paper system, or would you feel safer holding the real thing? Tell me in the comments, not just yes or no, why. Your insight may help someone else see what's coming. And if you want to stay ahead of the next major move in gold and silver, stay with us. What's coming next will likely reveal more in a few months than we've seen in the last decade.